All right, I will be creating an HTML, and then let's have a CSS and a JS. All right, guys, as you know, all the websites in the world and literally all the websites in the world, they have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML and CSS, they are not programming languages. HTML, as you know, hypertext markup language. CSS, cascading style sheet language. But JavaScript, it is a programming language. So that's why when we work with HTML, CSS, we can see anything in the browser because it's just about markup and styling, where we can easily see and style. But JS with JavaScript, it could be, it will not be like, you will not be able to see everything directly in the browser, but we will always have a way, which is console log, you know that. We will always use console log to see and test everything we wrote. And console log, you will be using like more than anything. I mean, when we start typing JavaScript, I can start type code after code, line after line, line after line, until I have like, I don't know, 30, 40 lines of code. And then suddenly the function, it doesn't work. And I don't know why. So in this situation, it's really difficult to follow the error to see where's the error. And that's why I advise you, with each line you write, after that, follow it with console log. Like, for example, if I make variable number is equal to 8, okay, I know now variable number is equal to 8, but it's better if we just follow it with console.log number, and I will go to the browser to see if I'm getting this result or not. Okay, I'm getting the result, so that's means this line is correct. Let's remove this one and continue. So when I do something like number plus 2, for example, so now if I go with console log number, it should be not 8, it should be 10. Okay, now if it's 10, that's fine. Let's continue. I remove the console log and write more. So when you go with step by step, when you console to the log step by step, what you are typing, you will not be facing any weird error because you already know everything you write, you test, and it's work. And suddenly, if you just see any error, then you will know, okay, this error from last line I wrote because everything before I was testing and there was no error in that. So let's start with HTML.
Sam, actually, I have a question.
Yes.
What's the difference between lit and var?
Okay, we will talk about also as well. So I started with HTML. Here I will be link the CSS, and here I will link the JavaScript. Does anyone has a question about how to link JS with HTML? No. If I want to write the JavaScript inside the HTML itself, can I do that or not? All right. So I need to go with a secret code, and between the secret lines, I can start typing any JavaScript code. Exactly like the style. Also in the head, if I write style, I can write any CSS. So now you can imagine the HTML, we can have the CSS and the JavaScript inside it because they are part from the website world. But because we want to make everything clear, everything easy to update later, they figured out a way to write CSS in a separate file and JavaScript also in a separate file. First of all, I need to test. Let's go to the body, and here, let's give it a background color, maybe yellow. So let's save, and let's go with live server. And here, let's go to the local host 5500. And you can see we have the yellow background, which means the CSS has been connected perfectly. Now, how can I test if the JavaScript has been connected perfectly or not? Do you have any idea, any trick, anything to do?
By the console log.
Right. Yes, what?
Hello world.
Okay, so let's go to the console log. And here we console hello world. We can see here hello world, which means it's fine. Also, if you want another trick, we can use something called alert. Do you know what's alert?
Yeah, it's a pop-up window that shows on top of
This
that.
is one. Okay, so let's start with something called built-in functions. Built-in functions is the functions that has been already built inside the JavaScript language, where you can just use it directly. So let's assume when the developers were programming JavaScript, they do something like function alert. It takes a parameter, text, and then here we return blah 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 blah. All right. So it doesn't matter about what we are returning here, what they already wrote inside the function. But they already built a function called alert that will show us that message in the HTML. This is a built-in function, and for we to use it, we will just need to code the function. So that's why when we write alert, we can see that message because alert has been built in inside the JavaScript itself. Not just alert. Like I think we have something called prompt. Also prompt like what's your age? And the prompt is it will give you this question that you can answer before you go to the browser. And now I can do an if statement like if your age is less than 18, so you cannot see it, and if it's more than 18, it's fine, something like that. So these are built-in functions, like console log, also built-in function. The log is the function, console is the object, etc. So these are built-in functions, and we can see it. Actually, it's not that necessary, but we can see it, which is this is the one. But I don't think anyone will care about it because it just takes us to the main JS blah 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 that no one ever will see. I just wanted to say that everything we write in JavaScript file has been already defined it in some way, or we need to define that from scratch. All right. Now, how many data or how many type of data I can have inside the JS? I can have string.
I guess 5 string numbers and identify null and
Boolean.
Boolean.
True and false. String number and define Boolean.
There's null, I guess.
Null.
Null and defined are like pretty much the same, and there's like small difference, and I can't remember it.
And what else?
Object.
Object array. What else? I think that's it maybe. So these are the types.
Function.
It's not a type. Actually, null and undefined also it's not a type. If you see the colors, show you the difference. Like string, number, Boolean, object array, they are kind of types. But undefined and null, it's kind of value. Anyway, string, as you know, it's just like normal string. We need to define it with quotations or double quotations, both are fine. And whatever you write here, this is just a text. Whatever you write here, it's fine because we started and we end with one quotation or with double quotations. It could be also a number like 25, and 25 in this situation is not type number, it's type string because of the quotations before and after. Type number is just like normal number, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have that quotations, so it will be recognized as a real number. Boolean is, it could be 1, 0, and it could be true, false. So Boolean is always about 0, 1, true, false. Object, it will be something like that. Curly braces up like in CSS when we write body and then we make open curly braces and close it. If you see something like that in JavaScript, this is mean an object in JavaScript because of the curly braces. This is about the object array, which is the square braces like this one. So this is what are the types, the difference between them. How we can define them easily, we just need to define the variable. We go with variable like maybe my name, and in this situation it would be like Sam. Variable my age is like 29. Variable my like is developer, true. So now I have string, I have number, I have Boolean. Object like var address is equal to object. Here I can do something like street. I think we should do some street is equal to like little a. City Rotterdam. So this is the object. And last thing, array. We can go with variable like cookies. And here we go with like football. Etc. 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 So this is type string. Just a text. This is number, Boolean, object, and array. Just let me see something really quickly. I think the object, it should be like this also as well. So any questions about this one of these types? Like how we define variable, what's the value and the type itself?
We need everything, right? Or we can use the let.
We can use always let, and we can use something called const. So we have var, let, and we have const, and I will let you know about it. What's the difference between them later? Right now, let's just start with var.
Sam, just one question.
Yes.
We have in JavaScript, we have associate array or not?
What do you mean associate array?
Like array has every index in array has key. You can call this index by key also.
Object has key.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Has index.
Okay.
So we can call like here we can call Rotterdam from the key city inside the object address.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you also an example.
So,
but here we can get the index 1 to get the value coding from the array copies.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So key inside the object, index inside the array.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did it answer your question or?
Yeah, of course, because I had just confused between this one and other language programming because also on C++ and PHP also we use sometimes associate array, but here in JavaScript just we use the object as associate array.
Yeah, it could be like I'm not sure if you can find a way which looks like PHP, for example, but index here is enough for me, like in arrays in general.
Yeah, okay, it's good.
So let's see now the difference between the types, or okay, so here this just committed. Now I will start with console log type of what my name. So let's see. You can see here is string, because my name is just a string. Let's see the type of the age. Also the left side number is developer Boolean. Can you see it? Cool. The address object, and the hobbies is also object. It's an array, but you can see it here as an object because everything in JavaScript has been built as an object. So don't worry about that. Now let's back again to the address. Let's console log the address. You can see here we have that object. I have something called city, Rotterdam, and something called street, which is Fittibleen. How I can print just one of these values. Now in the object, the first word here, city and address, this is the key. So if I want to have the city, I should go address is the object, and from the object, I want the city key. So I need to go dot city, and it will just print to me Rotterdam. Or I can do something else, which is write as an array, and here we write the city, also Rotterdam. What is the differences? We have two different ways. You can use one of them, it's up to you. So it's not always everything you know from JavaScript that you need to use. Sometimes you have always another way to use that. So in the object, either you write the name of the object, and between these curly braces, we can write the key, or we can go like address, dot, and then we write the key city or street, it's up to you. We can do something like, I can add another key, which is full address, let's say, and this key, it's a function. And this function, it will make something like return full address, maybe like related name in Rotterdam, anything like. And here we can call the last one, which is full address. And if you see now, it has like a yellow color because it's a function. But here, I see the function itself. How I can see the value from that function, I need to make it like calling the function, which is like these two braces. And right now, you can see in the console, we got that value from the function. So basically, inside the object, I can write literally anything. I can write string, number, I can write function, I can write object, array, object, inside object, inside object, inside object. I can do all that, and I will be going like from object to object to object to object, which is like fine. I mean, inside address, we can go to the, just to give you an example.
In our full address in function, we can give some name.
Use?
Yeah.
What we can use?
We have a full address, and after this we have function. We can give that function some name, yes or not?
The name is full address. This is the name of the function. So
But
you
after this we have function, and in this function we have return. But we can give some name this function or not?
Yeah, you can. But this is special situation here. The function is like you have an object. You use the key as the name of the function. But normally
Okay.
you use the function and name of the function. After that, you can just make this one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Understand.
okay, and also here you can use anything you do, like not just return string. You can do like a real huge function that will calculate something to you. But I'm just now giving you a quick example. So inside address object, I can do something like post code, let's say, post code, and this is also an object that has something called like numbers, which is the 4 numbers in the post code, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we can have letters, which is like AB, and we can do something house. And here, this is also an object that has a keys called house number, like maybe 14, and which floor, maybe I'm the floor number 9, let's say. Okay, so you see now I have an object that has an object, and this object has also an object inside that. And if I go to the address object, you can see address, it has city, full address as a function. We have postcode and street. Postcode is also an object that has house as an object, letters and numbers. Now, based on this one, do you know how I can print like 14 to the console? Just the number 14.
I think we can write like the address, and inside that, inside the this one, I don't know what it's called in English. We can write the postcode, and inside another practice, we can write the house, and we can do another practice, and inside it we can write house number.
Okay, another way.
Yes, I think that we can just write address, and we need to not normal bracket and just bracket with object bracket, and we need to say house number.
I think this is what Muhammad was also saying. The same.
I think we can do as a dollar. I see it in the YouTube. It's a dollar, like a dollar sign. I don't know why you use it.
Dollar sign, this one?
Yes.
No, we cannot.
Maybe you can write address, then point, then postcode, then point, then house number.
Exactly. So if I go address, we go to all this object. From this object, I need to go inside that object, which is postcode. So address dot postcode. Now I am inside that postcode, and I can show you here. I am inside just the postcode. And from the postcode, I have object called house. So here, dot house. And now I am just inside the house object. And from the house object, I need the house number, which is 14, dot house number. And now I have 14. And you can see now, if I have object inside object inside object, I just can go one into one into one into one to arrive to the variable that I want to use.
Sorry, but you say that we can use dot and we can use.
Yes, we can use both. If I make it like console log address postcode, let's see. Say we are inside the postcode. From the postcode, we can do house. Say we are inside the house. And from the house, we have the house number. And we are inside the house number. So it's
And,
the same.
and we can just write house number, yes, because we need to go in one object after this in
You
new
like,
object, and
what do you mean exactly?
I say that we can't just write address and after this write the house number. We need to go
We need to
in
go
first.
step by step. Yes, always.
Yes.
If we
Okay.
write, because here I can do something also the same, but like let's make it like maybe 5. So if you go address and then house number directly, you will achieve this one, not this one.
Okay, I got it.
They
I
are
got it.
both having the same key, but because they are not at the same level, so they are two different things. This is
Okay.
about that object. Do you have any questions, guys, about the object?
I have.
Yes, go ahead.
The main question for me, in which cases I will use this type of data.
In which case?
Yes, so
Okay.
when I need, for example, to solve my algorithm, I don't know what I need to use, array, function, I don't know, object, why,
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
see. For example, let's say you are building an H2 cyan up. I have 4 inputs. Text, placeholder, username, input, email, placeholder, email, input, password, placeholder, password, input, text, placeholder, address, input, also text, placeholder, postcode, input, text, placeholder, city, etc. And then I will have, let's make like very quickly, and here I will have a button, register, something like this, right? So here, I will have a form that you will be signing up in our platform. I need, after you write your data, blah, 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 blah here. If I click on register, I need to collect your information and send it to the backend to save it to the database. Okay, in this situation, I need to use the object to make your data inside this object and send the whole object to the backend and save it in the database. This is one. 2, when I have also a lot of, when I have a database with like, with data, the data could be users, friends, pictures, anything else. The data, it will come from the database also like object. And now I can print this data in the browser. So basically, where do you need to use object and how is when you want to collect more than one data together that it just referred to someone specially. The data, as I mentioned, it could be everything about me. It could be my name, my birth date, birthplace, like what is the education that I have, experiences, any data that it would be collected, especially for me, it should be in my special object. So now you can imagine, for example, in one of the social medias, in the database, they have one specific object to each one of us individually, and all your data, it will just inside your object. So that's why when we just go to your profile, I see just your data because just your object came to that profile. And now we print your image, print your name, posts, friends, etc. So basically, object is we need to use when we want to collect more than one data together, that it will just be affected like one person or one thing. Okay. Cool. Array.
Okay, and the arrays.
Arrays. Now let's go and console log the array. And you can see now array is just about a place where we can have more than one data. And this data, it could be normal string, it could be number, it could be true or false, like true, it could be an object, and the object, like I will take the postcode as it is from here to here. Yeah, but just I need to do something like hobbies, blah, blah, blah. And now I can do something like this thing, yes. So if we say true is not defined, true is not defined because it has, yeah, it's wrong. It should be like this. Now you can see inside the object, inside this array, I have the index 0 is the key itself in this situation, chat. Like here, the 0 is the index and the key for football. 1 is the index and the key for this number. And number 4 is, which is the last thing in the array, it's also, you can see, it's about all that object.
Okay.
How we can, yes, question?
Also good, thank you.
How we can print the empty object, like just the empty object from this array? Then this empty object is index 3, right? So I need to call that index 3. I will go back to the object, to the array itself, and from that array, I will say I want third or the key number 3. And now we just have that empty object. So that's why in the object we could also do the same, because object and array both are object in JavaScript, but we cannot write like hobbies.3 this way, especially just for object. But this way, which is with the square braces, it could be for array or for object. This is if we just want to print one element. If we want to print all the elements, we need to start with for loop, and I will jump into for loop later after we finish the parts and the variables part. When we need to use that array is when I was talking like each one of us has a specific object in the database, right? And let's see, in this object, they want to know what's the best food for me. Like they have one more key that called best food, okay? And they're asking, what's the best food for Wissam? And for example, I have like 3 or 4 favorite foods. How we can write them? Now we use the array to write them just inside this array. So we can start with like pizza, keep, blah, 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 blah. All right? So in this situation, we need to use the array, because array, it's a place where we can write random data together that don't need a key exactly. And we can also write it inside object or anything else. So now you can see, you can imagine this object, if it was a real data, it will have all the data about yourself. It will have like, where are you living? What's your full address? What's your postcode? What's your full name? Maybe what's your best food? What did you do? Like, what have you studied? Where did you travel? Like, we can make visited. So, and let's say I have visited Netherlands, and then I went to USA, and then I have back again to Spain, and then maybe Italy, blah, 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 blah. So this is where we need to use the array, where we need to collect more than one data together. Clear enough or not yet? So what have we done so far? We talked about the types, and we talked about how we can define variable, what's the difference of the variable, what we can write inside the object, and when we need it, what we can write inside the array, and also when we will use it. If you don't have any more questions, I can just remove everything and start with a new topic.
It's a clear, Sam. Thank you.
All right, so let's remove and start from scratch. Okay.
So I have a question. For example, we talk about number or like about array. So every object or clear, they have a different functionality. So if I need add a number, how I can add number? If I need like a change the some name for different name, they have like different. I need like cut something. So I think that's a really big topic and I don't know how we would cover all this knowledge.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's a big topic. Yes, it's a big topic. You don't need to cover all that in one session. But if, in my opinion, if you just know how to search about it, you will be fine with that.
Yeah, for that I start studying, and it takes a lot of time. Just like for number, maybe we have like 20 function for just number, or like something like that for object, maybe like a 16 or like 17 function for object or array.
Yeah.
Silly big.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know all of that. I mean, maybe no one knows all of that. And you as developer, you don't need to memorize all of that. All you need to do is, when you got a task to do, you should know in your mind what are the steps you will work on it. And for example, if I achieved one of the steps that it should have one of the functions that you are talking about, I can go to search about that and see how to use it. So I would say don't stuck just to know everything right now, because you will be losing a lot of time. You will be seeing a lot of information that it will, for sure, it will be a huge challenge to you. So what I would say, just stuck into the basics. And when you are studying, for sure, you will face more challenges. And when you want to search about something specifically, you can just go search on it, see how to use it, and back again, work on it. But we have a lot. We have a lot of built-in functions, especially in JavaScript. For example, for math, just for math, we have like a lot to do. And it's not logic to know all that right now.
Honestly, I spent more than 3 days just for number.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, like later when you start building calculator, you already maybe use that stuff. So now I can back and search on it. All I want you right now is to know how to write function, for loop, if statement, how to implement JavaScript with HTML, this stuff. And then algorithms came to teach you all these functions, because algorithms, it just give you a challenge that you need to face, you need to fix. Like one, the algorithm, it will be, I have this array that has like 10 delicious food, and the client asks to change all the rice food with spaghettis, for example, So this is just random thing I have created. This is an algorithm that you can use, you can solve. And we will talk later about algorithms, because I feel you didn't also get the idea what is algorithm and why we need it. Algorithm, it's basically the training for JavaScript. So it's the way to study JavaScript. If you want to feel more comfortable with JavaScript, so you need to solve a lot of algorithms, because algorithms, it will give you a problem that you need to think about it, make some steps in your head, try to write some code that will solve that problem, and now you solve that algorithm. But you will never like use it directly in that way. No, there is nothing like that. So about this all stuff in JS, don't really go too deep. Try to jump from one until another. And when you really need something, you can just back and search about it.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Anytime. All right, so I think I can start with functions. What is function? Function is when I can write more than one line of code. I can write more than one thing that it will run all together in one time to do some goal to me. So if I have here a function, that function called, just give me a second, think about a good example.
Calc, like calc, to some, yeah.
Let's calc something. So I have function called calc. Now I will create variable called first number is equal to 9, and I have another variable called second number, which is equal to 5. And now I will make something like variable, the result is equal first number plus second number. The result, it should be 1 word. Okay, and after that I can just maybe return the result. Now I have created a function, I have write some code, and this code, it will work all together in one time. How I can make it run? I should call the function. So the name of the function we use to call this function, like you are using my name to call me when you need me. This function has been defined, and now whenever we need to use it, we just want to call that name. Hey, calc, come and run. Hey, calc, blah, blah. So each time I will be calling that calc function, the function, it will work. And how many times I can call it? As much as you want. There is like no limit. So I have here like, I think maybe 5 times, more than 5. 3, 4, 7. So that means this function will work 7 times. This is like what we need to learn about the function so far. So if I go here and I write console log, the result. So this function, when I call it, it will run from here, and then it will console log the result. What's the result should be? 5 plus 9, 14. So let's go and call the function. Save. You can see here 14. Why we have 14? Because of this line, 9 plus 5. If I make it line minus 5, now it is 4. Again, function. There is no specific function that you will write. Function is always you're creating. You're creating. What you write here, it's up to you. I mean, I don't think if we need to write this function, if I give you the task, like guys, please write a function that will add two numbers to each other and print me the result, I am sure all of us will be writing the function with a different way. So this is the powerful behind JavaScript. You don't need to stuck like CSS. CSS, okay, we have something called, for example, for body. If I need to change the background, all of us will come and write background color. If I need to change the width, all of us will be writing width, margin top, margin down, blah, blah, blah. Do we create anything? Are we creative in this situation? Not really, because everything is just built in and we are using it. But in JavaScript, it's totally different, because in JavaScript, okay, we have some built-in function that we can use, like console log. But when we start typing real code, the function, it will always be something you create. Now the question, when you need to use a function, when you have a specific code that you want to work together, do some work, and then give you result. In this situation, I need to work with a function. Like I need to make some work before it just give me result. Now I need function. Or if you want to use that code more than one time, so you need to call a function to be able to call that function more than one time. Not just like that. I can send data to that function to calculate. So for example, instead of first number and second number 9 and 5, I will be writing the first number here and the second number here. Okay, I will delete them from the function itself. Now, if I write here 10 and 5, so 10 is the first number because we write it first. 5 is the second number, and each time it will be 10 plus 5, and it will show you here at the left 15. So how many times I can call this function with different number? 1, 52, 0, 20, 29, okay, and here 3, 2, and 3. And you can see now I have all the results. So function is where you will write some code that you want it to work always the same in a different way, different situation, also with different values. Not just like that. I can do here something called like, I'm not sure if it will work actually, but let's try. I can do something like operating, and here I will make first number. Okay, yes, I will make something like operating here, which it will be like here I need to make a plus. Or here I need to see the minus, not the plus. Here I need to do like multiply. And here I need to do what's called subtract or something like divide. And divided we can use maybe this line, I think, right? So now what do you think, guys? I should write inside the function to make it work with all this situation. I mean, in this situation, 10, 5 plus, it should be 15. 1, 52 minus, it should be minus 51. 0, 29 multiply, it should be 0. 2, 3 divided, it should be, I think, 1.5 or something like that. So you can write it, right? It's like a real collection. So what should I do inside that function to make it work perfectly? This is what you should learn, how to think, not how to write. How to write, I can just search on Google. But you should know what you should do, not how you do it. So what should we do here?
We can write in console log the result plus OP or not.
In the console log, what you should write? What you should write?
The result plus OP.
The result plus OP, and why we need that? What the result would be? You can see here. So it depends the result, and what's the OP we send? We send plus, minus, multiply, and divide. By the way, this warning here, it's just because the HTML it doesn't have the name and the ID. If we just remove them, I will not be able to see that warning anymore. Okay, so let's back to the JavaScript. Did you understand my question?
Yeah. You have
yes,
suggestion
I
for
guess-
this?
I guess in the first name we have to put first name plus OB plus second name. Or
Okay.
maybe we can put OB in some brackets or something like to define it that it is an operation, not like an object or something.
Okay.
Maybe we can
Okay.
use if statement.
Okay.
If we use the if statement, we have write 4 if conditions, and we go because with we can use here switch case. It's more easier or more shorter.
Also, yes. And
Yes.
this is why I arrived here, to show you one thing, we can make it different ways. So don't stuck to know everything. I say if a statement, your colleague say switch, other one say another thing. I said for loop, you said while loop, someone say do while loop, all the same. So you don't need to learn everything right now. You can just choose one, literally study that one. And when you know how to write for loop, for sure you will know how to write while loop because they are the same. And when you know for loop, while loop, you will know how to write do while loop, etc. So for algorithms, when you need to loop, don't think I need to make for loop or while loop, because both are the same. When you want to have some conditions, don't think about switch or if statement, because and just do it. So here, as you mentioned, we can work it like with if statement, and also it would be a good example to know what's if statement. So I will start here. If the OP that I am sending this project, if it was equal to plus, so that's mean I need to make here we can just define the result with no value, and if it was plus, so the result first name plus second name. But else if it was the OP is equal to minus, so now first name minus second name. Again, else if it's equal to multiply, then first name multiply second name. And the last thing, which is if it was the dividing, so we go first name divide last name, and if we save here, we can console log the result, and you can see 15 minus 51 0 0.615. So if you see right now, I have just created a function that will receive two number one operation, and I'm doing if statement to see what kind of operation I send. Is it plus, minus, divided, or multiply? And based on each situation, I do something else. I have a question to you. What about if I will never want to see a negative number? I will always want to see a positive number here. What should I do in the function?
If
Maybe you can add the
if without
statement.
What we do inside the if statement?
We can add if statement. If the result is negative, we can multiply it by negative -1, and it will be positive.
That is one of the options. What do you have another idea? By the way, this one's correct, because it gives me what I want. If the result is negative, multiply -1, it will become positive. But do you have another idea?
After the
I don't
result, we
know.
can say, sorry. After the result, we can say if the result smaller than 0, continue.
Also, that's a way. So if it's
I don't know if JavaScript have built a function called apps.
We
Give me
don't-
the absolute
we
numbers.
it will, but we don't need to use that built-in functions right now. Also, there's another way. Think. This is the most difficult part in JavaScript. How to do, what should you do? Not what's the code you write. So right now, I have asked you for one thing, and I got two options, which is almost the same, because I think Muhammad said if the number is negative, and Shadi said if the number is less than 0, which is both the same. So I got the same idea, but I need to have another way.
Maybe we can use the operations like who is bigger. If the second is bigger than the first,
Exactly.
you can change the operation.
Exactly. So here, before we say first number minus than second number, I need to know which number is bigger. So inside the same if statement, I can go if the first number is bigger than the second number. So now I can easily make first number minus second. But else if, or just else, because if the first number is not bigger than the second, so that means the second is bigger. Now in this situation, I can go test result. The result is second number minus the first one, which will be always positive, because we always take, if you see now, it's positive because we make the bigger number minus the smaller number. And if you want, I can just give you ideas until tomorrow, and we think how we can do that. The thing about JavaScript, guys, don't stuck like HTML, CSS. Okay, I need to do that. I don't know. No, just try think outside the box. Try to like really know the steps in your mind before you start typing some code. Clear? Any questions? So the function, if I didn't write it here, if I didn't write function, this thing, it will not work, because I cannot change first number and second number as I want. If the second number and the first number always there, like 10 and 5, it's fine. The project will runs one time, and that's it. But with function, it gives me an ability to call the function more than one time, and also to send more than one data. And the last thing I need to try is the same number, 3, and I want to have minus. And you can see we have 0. Because 3 minus 3, it doesn't matter which one is bigger or smaller, they are the same. Yeah. What else we can do? Yeah, okay. I mean, this is functions. Any questions?
Can we make a break for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Or we will end soon. I don't know.
I don't mind. If your colleagues agree, also we can have break for 5 minutes. What do you think, guys?
Good suggestion. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so it's almost, I will give you a break 7 minutes, not 5. So let's see you 5 past 6, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're back after break, and I think we finished the functions. If you don't have any questions about it, please feel free to ask anything. Function, we defined it to write a specific things that it needs to work together, and then it will return to us some result. Not just like that, we can pass data as an argument to that function, and we can call the function as much as we want. Right? Okay.
Yes.
Looping is just when we have an array and we want to print all the data inside that array from the first element until the last element. In this situation, we need to loop through the array. We need to loop. Which loop I need to use? It really doesn't matter. It's up to you which loop you need. For loop, while loop, the while loop, it's up to you. But we can use also for each, which is a built-in function in the JS as well. But I prefer for loop. I find it the easiest. So I will be talking about the for loop. And if you like, if you want to try another way of looping, it's up to you. So let's call it variable. I will have an array. It's called that has some football clubs, maybe Real Madrid. It has the PSG, Ajax, and Barcelona. Let's say. So I have here all 4 clubs, for example, and I want to print them into the browser. If I want to print specifically just one of these data, I can directly go to the index of this data. For example, for Ajax, it will be index number. Which index? Ajax.
Number 5.
Which index Ajax?
3, 2.
2. So if I go with array index 2, I would say here directly Ajax. But if I want to print all of them, yes, 2, correct. If I want to print all of them, now I need to loop. How we loop? 4. And then we open brackets with curly braces. Here we write our condition. What's the condition? Where we start, where we end, and how much do we want to go, the frequency, how much we go each time. Like where we start, I want to start from index number 0 because I know the first index is 0. So I will go with variable I is equal to 0 because I need to define variable that will be changing. So I'm starting from 0. Where I should end? Where I should be ending?
Length.
The length. Okay, so let's see why it's 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is 3. But how many the length for it? What's the length for it? 4. Okay, if I don't know how many data I have inside the array, if I don't know, I can't hear you. Sorry, your voice is really.
I say I will write it. It's equal dot length.
Dot length. Yeah. So if I don't know exactly how many I have, it will always the last result, the last index. It will always be the length of the array minus 1. Because we start from 0. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So the last result, the last index, Barcelona, is the index number 3, but the length is 4. So what about if we have one more, like AC Milan, for example? So in this situation, it's not the length is not 4, it's 5. And the last index, it has the index of 4. So for me, we will always starting from 0 until the length minus 1. It doesn't matter how much it was, but we need to go the length minus 1 because of we're starting from 0, not from 1. So always, if the length is 4, the last index is 3. If the length is 10, the last index is 9. If the length is 20, the last index is 19. And in this situation, it should start when I is equal to 0, and I should stop when it is smaller than the length minus 1. So when it's smaller than the length minus 1, it should stop, and each time I should be changing 1. So I0, and then I1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Now, for each time, I need to console log array, but not just array like that, because array like that, it will be printing all the array to me, but I want to have each one individually. What should I do? Here, I need to write like that. Why? When I is 0, that means print to me array 0, which is the first one. We print. And then I is 1. Okay, print to me array 1, which is something. I2, I3, I4, I5. And each time we are changing we are printing new data. Okay? So that's why we just write here and it will always become from 0 until the last one. And you can see here we have Real Madrid, PSG Ajax Barcelona, and we are missing AC Milan. That's why I want to ask you why we are missing AC Milan here.
Because you write like -1.
Exactly. So I should be smaller than array length -1. Let's explain it to you. What is the length of this array? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the length is 5. Okay. And the index for the last one is what? Is 4. Last index is 4. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, why here, when I write array.length -1, I didn't see AC Milan as the last result? Because when I is 0, 0 is smaller than 4. So we print. Now I is 1. 1 is smaller than 4. We print. I is 2. 2 is smaller than 4. Print. I is 3. 3 is smaller than 4. We print. And now I is 4. Is 4 smaller than 4? No. So that's why we didn't print that one. In this situation, either we say I should be smaller than just the length. So if the length 5, I will always be smaller. It will never reach that length. So now the length is 5. Is 4 smaller than 5? Yes, we will print AC Milan. And then it will become 5. Is 5 smaller than 5? No, then it will stop. So either we just write I smaller than array.length, or we say array I is smaller or equal to array.length -1. So when we achieve number 4, is 4 smaller than 4? No. Is 4 equal to 4? Yes. So now, okay, that's a print. AC Milan. Now you can see, if we just remove this part, now we have all 5 clubs because of minus or equal. Or if you find it confusing, okay, so let's say it's always smaller than the length. That's it. I start from 0, I smaller than the length, I plus plus. And we will have also the same result. Not just like that, I can show you, I can print I and the value. So you can see I is 0, the value is geometry, I is 1, PSG, I is 2, I is 3, and I is 4 as the last index. So the 4 is an index, 5 is the length. And this is how we write for loop. While loop, the while loop, I don't care right now. I need to loop, I know how to loop, that's it. If you really want to know how to write while loop, let's Google it. But otherwise, why? This is just for algorithms in general. Like, don't ask yourself what's the best for loop, while loop. No, you need to loop. Doesn't matter how. We need to have if statement. It doesn't matter how. It could be switch. It could be if. Functions. Okay, functions. We have one way to write that. But I mean, this is the idea behind where I use for loop, where I use while loop. There is no real answer for that. It's up to you. Clear? Can we move on? So we talked about if statement, we talked about for loop, and we talked about functions and variables. Let's jump into how to implement HTML with JavaScript together. And this would be like the last part of our session today. I assume after this session, you should be able to finish this assignment by yourself. You already know how to write loop if statement functions, and we will know how to implement HTML with JS, how we do event listener, and you already know how to loop and to write functions. It's up to you. So all you need to do is to create a way that you need to loop something that it will show in the browser. It could be looping to any data about you. It's up to you. Cool? Any questions? No. So let's remove, and let's go to the HTML. As I said, JavaScript is literally inside the HTML page. So it should have all the data about the HTML. We could not just all that about HTML, because the CSS as well is inside the HTML. So from JavaScript, I can access the HTML, and the CSS at the same time. But how I can do that? First of all, there is one keyword in JS called document. If I go with console log, document, what should I see? So this is the document that I have right now, literally inside this folder. What I have, the HTML, that has the head and the body. This is the document. And this is the starting from achieving part in HTML. Now, what I want to change the color for the sign up when I just put the mouse on it. So, I mean, I can do that with CSS, right? So let's go to the CSS. It's an H2, and I can say here H2 on hover, make the color red. So now if I hover, it will change the color to red. Okay. What I will do in the JavaScript, I will be creating a button, and this button, let's call it change text. Not just like that. I will remove the form, and here I will have an input type text, type tail. What's tail? Okay, telephone, they mean like telephone, but it's a text, I see. Okay, it's really weird. Input type tab. Okay, for telephone, input type tab. All right. Defines a field for entering a telephone number. A browser that doesn't support TIL for back to be. Just because I never heard about it, that's I was so curious to know. Okay, so input type text. We have a placeholder like just. So now what I would do, I will write here some text. When I click on change, I should see it here instead of sign up. So I will be changing the text each time I write something. Now, as I mentioned before, you should know the steps in your mind. What I should do, first of all, in JavaScript, I should be sure that if I click on this button, something happened. I don't care what it is. I just want to be sure the button is working. Then, when I finish this part, when I click on this button, I need to see what I write here. It doesn't matter what it is. So because I know the first point is finished. When I click on the button is working. So this one is finished. Now, what should the button does when I click on it? Give me the value from this input. When I have the value, the last part, it will be printed here. So I have to do 3 steps to finish this assignment. And as I mentioned again and again, the most difficult part, in my opinion, is to have these steps in your mind, is to know to fix this issue, you need to write 3 steps. It's just more difficult than how to write them. Now, I need to be sure that this button is clickable. So I need to give event listener to this button, which is on a click. What event listener mean? Event listener mean in JavaScript, the JS code, it has an ability to be able to listening to all our events. And the event mean, it could be mouse on something, mouse out something. It could be click button. It could be click on the keyboard, enter, space, one of the letters, I don't know. But when we do something, hovering, clicking, typing, this could be an event. This is called an event. And we want JavaScript to be listening to our event to play around with that. Okay, so before I add an event listener to the button, I need to use this button in JS. How to use the button in JS? I can create a variable called my PTN, which is my button. Let's call it my PTN. Here, as I said, document. This is all the HTML document. And now I can get elements from that document. I can get element by ID, if the document has an ID, by class name, if the document has a class name, by the name, if it has a name, tag name, depends on the tag, and by tag name and s, which is, I don't know, tag name and s is namespace. It returns HTML collection. Okay. So let's go with get element by ID. And let's go to the button, give it an ID, PTN. So the ID for the button is PTN. And I say here, get element by ID, the ID is PTN. So what will happen in JavaScript? It will search inside our document, inside our HTML. It will search about an element that has ID PTN. And now this element with that ID, it will become as variable my PTN. So if I console log that variable, what do you think the result should be?
I think nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. Why? Just why do you think nothing?
But there's no functionality.
Because no function.
Okay, let's say again what we write here from the document. Get element by ID, and the ID is PTN. So let's see inside the HTML. Do we have element has an ID PTN?
Yes.
This one.
14. Yep.
So this line, this tag, it is what we found, and it is this variable. So when I console log the variable, I am console log the tag we found in HTML. You see?
Yeah.
If there is no element, then there is nothing in HTML as an ID or something like that. But now I have found the element. Okay, and that's why I told you console log is you need it always there. I need to be sure, does the JavaScript found that element to me or no? So now I see, okay, he found it. Then I don't need the console log anymore. Now I need to go to the first step, which is add event listener. When I click, something should happen. Now, this input that I found, this document that I found, dot add event listener. This is built in JavaScript. Add event listener as a function. Add event listener, it always have 2 arguments or 2 options. The first one is what is the type of this event? And the type of the event, I would say, it is click when I click. And then we make comma. What is the second type? The second type is always the same, which is function. So we write here function. And that's how we write event listener. First of all, I defined which document I need to add the event listener to it. And the second, what is the type of the event listener? And the third thing, what we do function. What the function is, just console log, the button is clicked or just clicked. Now, do I see anything in the console? No, I should see after I click. And if I click, I see click. And each time I click, you can see here, it's just printing the same word more and more. So now I'm sure this button now is clickable in the JavaScript, and I finished the first part. Now the second part, when I click, instead of click it, I need to see what we write here, if we write something or not. Now, to be able to play around with the input, what I need to do first of all, I need to get this input from HTML. Everything you need to use in JavaScript, you should first of all get it from the HTML. Now, let's go in the button input, but let's play with the class. And the class, I will call it input. Here, let's go with variable. My input is equal to document dot get element. I can go with get element by ID as well, but because I show you the ID, I need to show you the class name just to give you more than one option. If I will advise you, always work with ID. Why? Because ID, it always gives you one element, but if you see here, get elements by class name, because the class name can be added to more than one HTML, right? So the result here, it will always be what? Let's console log first. Console log my input. So you can see it's always about an array, but right now I just have one inside that array because I just have one input. But if we work with ID, we don't have that array. The one problem is if I'm working with ID, if you see right here, it's just one element. I can directly add an event listener to it. But if I'm working with the class names, I need either loop through these class names or define which element I want, which is which index. And I just have one, which is now that input. So the difference between class name and ID, class name, it will always give you array with elements, even though if you have just 1 or 10. But ID, it will always be just for one element. So I would say if you're going to work with JS, it doesn't matter, make it as an ID. ID, let's call it again, input as well. So here, let's say instead of get elements by class name, it will be give element by ID. The ID is input. And now you can see I have that input here. Now, what I need when I click on it, I can see the value of this input in the console log. So I will go with my input dot value because I need to take the value from this input. Now, if it's empty, I click, I can see empty. But if I have some text, click, I can see that text because of the dot value. So first of all, I have defined it to document from HTML to use it in JS. Second, I created the event listener to the button to be sure this button is working. Third, I have got the value from the input after I clicking the button. Now, fourth step is I need to print that value here. Now, I need to ask you, what should I do first to be able to print the value instead of sign up? What should I do first?
I will do ID for the H1 or
Exactly. So ID, I will call it as a title. What's then? Continue.
Then I will.
You define it in GS. Where ID and get all the elements. Yep.
So variable title, document get element by ID, the ID is title. Third.
You need call title. Right?
Yeah, right.
Like title dot add event listener.
Event listener is for clicking, which is for the button. I need to call the title to print the value here inside the title.
Can you replay?
Yes. So let me console log the title first of all. Console log title that I have getting from the. You can see the title right now. It's about a text sign up. So I need to change here the inner text from sign up to become what? The new value from here.
Oh, okay.
What's the new value? Is my input value. So basically, I will go with new title, which is all that sign up word, and I need to change what? The inner HTML or inner text. Both are up to you. I need to change the inner text. So dot inner text equal to what? The new value, which is the value from the input. And I think we're done. So if I click, change, and hover is also working because hover is just something in CSS. Now, what if I clicked here now, change text? I see nothing. Why?
Text is placeholder. It can be printed.
Because it's an empty here. What should I do to avoid this part?
I will put plus before the equal of inherit HTML.
No, we need to understand exactly what's the issue, what's the problem. If I click here, I don't see sign up anymore. What is happening?
this text was empty, we give you empty results. So you make
Exactly.
if statement if the text empty, give me the first sign out.
Or we can do, if the text is not empty, then we can print.
Yeah.
So what we will do, after we click, I need to check if my input dot value is not equal to empty, so that means we type something. Now we can change the value. So now if I click, nothing happened because it's empty. But if I said hello JS, we say hello JS. Now remove, click, nothing happened. What I will do, I will create here a paragraph. I will keep it empty. I will have it ID as an error. Now, if it's not empty, print. But else, if it's empty, I need to print an error message inside the error. So we click here, error, error, because I give it an ID as an error. Get element by ID, the ID is error. Now, if it's not empty, error dot inner text, like the field is required. And here I can go to the CSS. I would say error, you are always color red and font white bold. Let's make font style italic. Now this is the style for the error message. The error message is still empty. And here I said if it's not empty, change the text. But if it's empty, show me that error message. Now I can see nothing because still empty. But if I change the text like hello, or no, if it was empty, click, you can see the field is required. But now if it's not empty, I click, I still see that part. What should I do? Because now it's not empty. Why I see the error message? Because it was empty at the beginning. It was empty. I made some text in it, so the text is there and never replaced. So I would say how we can fix that. I will show you what I mean. In the element, let's make it like this. Refresh. You can see here it's an empty. And when I click, now we have this text. This field is required. Now, if I write some text and click again, should I see the same error message? So in some point, I should change it again to an empty one.
We make another else?
No.
No, and same. If we can say it error, display none. We can change the display of this one. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But because I'm changing text, so what I would say, if the input is not empty, so I have written something, so I don't have any error anymore. So that's what it gains. Okay, in the error part, print to me empty string. So if the input is not empty, make the error empty and print that word in the browser. But if it's empty, show me that text message. Now it will show me text message, but if I write something, I don't have that error anymore because of this line. And you can see here now it's empty. It will stay empty forever because this part always has value. When this input it doesn't have any value, now I should see the error. This field is required. And if I click many times, you can see here in the right side, just this one is changing, and literally it's not changing. It's just keep printing that error message because the input here is still empty. But as long as I have some text, doesn't matter what it was, so we don't have that error message anymore. This is how we play around with HTML and JavaScript. We need the element that we need to use in HTML, we should call it in JavaScript, and then we should think how we need to define it. If you see here, I didn't use any function because I don't need function. This is the function that I need, which is inside the if state, the event listener itself. Each time I click, this function will work. So you can see like some of other codes. It will be something like function, let's say maybe handle click, let's call it. And this function has this part here. And here we say, when I click, I need to run function, and the function is handle click. So this is the same. This is literally the same. But instead of writing the function separately, we wrote the function directly in the same event listener. And you can see here, it's still working the same. So you can really find out a new way. It just depends on you. I mean, don't feel like you are just free to think or to do what you want. In JavaScript, it's a place where you can be creative as much as you can. So let's back again to the assignment. You need to use event listener. They didn't mention what type of event listener you can use. It's up to you. I have used here click, but you can use something else, not just click. You can use mouse over, mouse out, blah blah blah. How we can do that? Let's go with event listener types. And now you can use, these are the types of event listeners that we can use. We have mouse event, we can click, double click, mouse down, mouse up, blah blah blah, mouse over, all these event listeners. touch event if we are touching, but I don't have now a touch screen, so it will not work. Keyboard event when I click something on the keyboard. So what I can do here, I can write something and click enter to make it work. So I need to define in JavaScript, when I click enter, do the same function that we are doing here. So now this function, I can use it on click, on event listener click, or event listener for clicking enter on the keyboard, not just the button. It's literally up to you how you want to program your project. For event, yeah, this is we can do actually here when my input, let's say my input dot add event listener, and the event listener is when I change, and here handle click. So now I add event listener called the change, but not to the button, to the input itself. And we are doing the same function as we do on click. So what should happen? I think if I just change the value here, it should work. So now I write space, nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. So it doesn't work like that. And in this situation, I need to go here and make console log something. So let's refresh. If I click, you can see here the console log came, but when I type, nothing happened. So now I can know this event listener is not working. It's so important to you to know where is your issue. If I don't know the issue here, I would start working inside the function itself, changing the if statement, change here, maybe no, maybe it's 1 equal, maybe it's not 2 equal. You know, when you start asking yourself these questions, you should know where is the error before you start fixing that. And console log is the only and the fast way to do that. So like if I click here, I should see the console. Okay, I click, I see the console, so that's fine. If I typed here, I should see it. I don't see anything. So the problem is inside this line here. So this line is not working. Now I can search about it. Why it doesn't work? How I can fix that? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe because it's a form event. It's not an input event. But yeah, anyway. Here you can find like a lot of, we have something called resize. And resize is for our window. When I just change the size like this, when I resize the window, it will work. So literally in the JavaScript, guys, I can do something called scroll. So when I scroll, so literally in the JavaScript, they can know where is the mouse, where is the position of the mouse, where did you click? Did you click here? Did you click there? What text have you copied? For example, if I copied this text, if they wrote code that will work on copying, they will know this user at this time has copied this text. When we scroll, we also can do something. When we're resizing, full control from the JavaScript. And for more details, for sure, you can see it here. Like this is for window event. And for window event, I didn't show you. If we go with console log window, what we see our window. Inside the window, I have alert function that you saw, built-in function, atom function, blur function, blah, 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 blah. I have Chrome, something about Chrome, maybe some data about the Chrome. Cookie store, error. Inner height, inner width, which is the height and the width for the page. Now you can see the width is like almost 500, but if I make it like that, let's refresh. Now the inner width, it should be bigger. Now it's 715. So we literally can know how much the width we have. Location, this is the host, local host, blah, 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 HTTP. My button, you can see it, like there's my button as the variable that I have defined it, because now it has been defined it here. My button, this is the one. So because this is here, so now it's inside the window. It already defined inside the window. So now we can see it here. My button, this is my input. Navigation, blah, blah, blah. This is the event listeners. On change. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I mean, we can talk a lot about it. And you don't need to know all that data here. You just need to know how to see it, not how to memorize it. This is screen. All the data about that screen that we could maybe use. So now what I will do, come on. So here I can do window, add event listener on resize. And when I resize, I need to have a function. That function, it will console log to me the new width of the page, like window.inner width without this, just window.inner width. Each time I resize the window. Yeah, each time I resize the window. Let's hope nothing there, but I'm start resizing. You can see this is the new resize. So what I would do here quickly, if window.inner width, let's say smaller than 1024, I would say here I will have an h2. I will call it ID as a how we write machine like this. I don't know what we can call something else like come on, using. Okay, what we are using right now. So yeah, let's go here. Variable using is equal to document dot get element by ID, which is using. And now, if it's smaller than that, I will go with using dot inner text. I'm using right now mobile, but if it's bigger, so that's mean I'm using a desktop or laptop. Inner text equal to desktop or iPad or laptop, what else? I don't know. Just an idea. So let's try. Let's see if the browser will know that. Now refresh. I don't see anything. We are using mobile. And if we make it bigger, we're still using mobile. I need to use a bigger screen. So just give me a second like that. Now you can see I'm using desktop. This how we write desktop. No, nothing like that. Anyway, I'm always having problem with how to write words. So yeah, you can see now I can know this is mobile, this computer, this mobile, this desktop, depends. And also I can do something like if it's mobile, let's go to the body. I mean, I can give it an ID of body if you want. So here, let's go to the variable. Or no, I will do something else to you. Like here, variable document body is equal to document dot get element by tag name, and the tag name is body. And here console log body, what we have inside the console. Body is not defined. Get elements by tag name. Yeah, because it's called document body. So now we don't have anything. Tags name body, ID of a body. And here get element by ID body. Now I can see this is the body. All right. So what I will do, if we are on mobile, I will go with the document body, which is all the body, dot class list, which is if they have any classes inside the body tag, dot add, I need to add mobile. And here I need to add desktop. Now let me show you what we have. Take a look here at the ID of body. When I change, now we have a class of desktop because it's bigger than 124. By the way, I write 124 because I know it's the length for the laptop, and smaller it will be tablet, smaller mobile, blah, blah, blah. So now it's a desktop. And when I change it, you can see now desktop and mobile, but I should not see both. I should see either desktop or mobile. Now here, I need to remove the desktop and add the mobile. And here I need to make the opposite. Add the desktop and remove the mobile. Why I do that? We always need to see here one class in the body. So now the class is mobile because the screen is small. But when the screen is big, now we change the class to desktop. And now I can, from JavaScript, play around between the classes in the body. Is the class has desktop or mobile? You can see now this is mobile, this is desktop, right? Mobile, desktop. And now basically in the CSS, I can say, okay, if I have a desktop, then background color blue. And if I have a mobile, background color light blue. Now, this is a blue because it's a desktop, it's a mobile, desktop, mobile. All that from JavaScript. Blah, 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 blah. There is no end for JavaScript, guys. No end for JavaScript. All you need to do, one, practice a lot. Two, think before you write. You should know, you should ask yourself, if you could answer these questions before you start typing the code, you could fix any problem. What's the questions? Like, what should have before you work? Like, if I click here, what should have? You ask yourself like that. What should have? Yeah, what should done? And then what the result you got? What the result you got? So now, before I start typing any code, I'm asking myself, if I click here, what should happen? And after I click, I see what the result I got. Is the result the same or not? If it's the same, so what I need to do is the same as what's happening, so that's fine. If it's not, now I start comparing. I need to have this, but I got that. Why? Now let's see. Console log, blah, 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 etc. You will find it. This is how we implement HTML. And we will finish all the console log we wrote. Now we can delete it because we don't need it anymore. The console, it should always be empty. And for the last result, you can see now this is mobile. If we make it a little bit bigger, it should become as a desktop. So mobile, desktop, mobile, desktop, mobile, desktop, blah, blah, blah. And if we click here, if we hover, it will always hover red. And when we click, we have an error. Type, we don't have error, and we change the text. And the background is always changing, depends on which screen you are using. We know how to implement HTML with CSS. We know how to work with function, if statement, for loop, event listener. And I think this is all enough to finish this assignment. Now, for algorithms, we can talk about them later if you want more, but they are just a way to just practice practice JavaScript. I mean, if we go here quickly to the algorithms, to the basic one, you can say print 1 until 135. Write a program using JavaScript that will print all the numbers from 1 until 135. They just ask me to print numbers. Do I need to go console log 1, console log 2, console log 3, console log 4, console log 5 until 135? It's a lot. So what I can do, I can create a for loop, start from 1, stop at 135, and for each time console log. One line, it will fix the problem. Like quickly, for variable I started from 1, and here I is less than 135, right? I plus plus, and each time console log I. If we go here to the console, you can see now I have all the number 1, 2, blah, 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 blah. Until 134, it should be 135. So either make it less or equal, or make it less than 136. Now I have 135. How I can print them here? Now create an empty div or p tag, call it in JavaScript, and for each time print the I. That's it. We came here, create a div, and this div we can give it an ID as numbers. Numbers. Now we come here. Let's define it. So numbers equal to numbers, and here we go with numbers dot inner text equal to I, and we will see just the last number because we are now overwriting the values, but we need to make them not overwriting, but we need to make them next to each other or adding to each other. And in this situation, we write plus equal, and now you can see we have from 1 until 135. I can also write an HTML tag inside this one, which is, it could be numbers dot, instead of inner text, we write inner HTML. And in this situation, I can add an HTML, and the HTML, it will be like p tag. And here we close the p tag. And now I need to write the I. Now you can see it's a p tag from 1 until 135. Element, the div with numbers, p tag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. All that just from JavaScript. Now, this one is finished. The second one, write a program using JavaScript that will print all the odd number, just the odd number, from 1 until 135. Okay, now I have here how to print from 1 until 135. Now I need to think how to print the odd number. So now I need if statement to check this number is even or odd, and then print the result. So about algorithms, it's just a way to practice JavaScript. See it as practicing the JavaScript. If you don't know how to practice JavaScript, then go to the algorithms. And the same algorithm, you can fix it with more than one way. I hope it was enough today for you. I don't know, it's difficult, easy, confusing, not clear, blah, blah, blah. But I hope, like, I did my best. Just let me know later if you have any questions, and I will be happy to help you guys. So, anything else? Okay, no? Can I stop sharing, stop recording as well? All right, so stop recording. Yes.